Welcome to a space where love meets truth, where healing is honored, and where we rise together. This is the Carter Love Talk Show, a show created just for you. Here we have real conversations, the ones that nurture, that challenge, that elevate. This is where self-love isn't just a phrase, it's a practice. Where self-trust is built, self-honesty is celebrated, and affirmations become the foundation of how we move forward. But growth doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in community. That's why we're also talking about the things that shape our world, our businesses, our finances, our future. We're shining a light on the voices, the visionaries, and the movements making an impact. Because elevating you means elevating us. If you've been looking for a space to grow, to learn, to unlearn, you're in the right place. I want to hear more about you and how you got started on this journey with utilizing natural things that come from earth and nature to heal and grow and to connect with yourself.
Yeah, well, I've been a cosmetologist for 10 years and I worked in the corporate industry for a long time. I won't name any names, but when I started with them, I noticed that a lot of the ingredients that I was selling, I didn't believe in. And with a lot of corporations, you actually sign a contract that says that you need to walk your clientele up to the counter and sell it to them, or else you get marked off. And I was like, well, why are we pushing these products if I don't believe in it? And so I ended up leaving that industry and I started diving deep into ingredients and plant chemistry. And I realized this was before the fad, when we really started becoming aware consumers. And so I started off with an oil that I have, and it's made from fruits and flowers. And I used it as aftercare for my clients because it's just something that they needed. And then I started getting before and after photos, and I was like, wow, this stuff really works. We don't need all this mumbo jumbo. We don't need all these extra chemicals. And so I started reaching out to plant-based companies like you and really trying to work with people and educate each other and just trying to educate the community, because I feel like I'm self-taught, you're self-taught, and we're just trying to take the steps as consumers because it's not going to be an overnight change. We need to guide the rest of the next generations into being aware, and that's what we're teaching ourselves. So it's not something that's going to be perfect. It's just something that we need to continue to learn on. So
Yes, I agree, and that's what I love, because you may have dived into this for your own reasons. So there are certain herbs or botanicals that you may gravitate more to than I do, and so, but I might still need to know about those ones. You know what I mean? So it's beautiful for us to share that knowledge with one another. For sure, 100%. And I love that. From what I've learned about you, is that you have your own garden, and so you can literally pick from your garden and be like, oh, we're gonna use this in the product today. Or we're gonna brew this tea today.
some of the plants that I actually have, I'm in my garden right now. For example, calendula. This is great. I know you really like herbs that help with spirituality, so this is really good with soothing. It's great for anxiety. Another one is this native California yarrow. It's great for menstrual cycles. Um, when you have an herb that is good for women, it also has great benefits for all types of genders. So when I'm on my page trying to share knowledge on things that help with menstrual cycles or digestion and things like this, it also has benefits for everyone. So if you have an herb that you're interested in and you're reading about it, dive deeper into it. If there's something that you're gravitating towards or that you need, that's why I have specific herbs in my garden, because it's my medicine.
Yes.
So that's why I really like it. What I have in my garden isn't necessarily what you're going to need. So,
Exactly. Exactly. So how do you learn? What is your favorite way to learn more about herbs? Like, do
so,
you read a book or?
so actually, it's very simple. I think that being aware of your natural surrounding has a huge impact on ourselves, on the ecosystem, and just like the knowledge of how we perceive food in general. So when I'm walking down, I live in Sacramento, there's so many medicinal herbs downtown Sacramento. You would be surprised. We have sage, we have yarrow, we have garlic on the sides of the streets. And so I really like just going outside and going on walks. And honestly, the technology in our phone is so advanced. You can take a photo on your iPhone and press the little plant page on the bottom, and it'll tell you exactly what it is. So,
Really?
yeah, it is really amazing. My favorite is the iPhone and then the Audubon Society. So I will leave it on a comment below on our live. But the Audubon Society is the best beginners. It's color coded, it's shape coded. So you just look at the color and then you look for the shape and then you go to the back of the page and it tells you what time of year it grows, if it's edible, and you can actually, wherever you are in the United States, you can volunteer for them. So last summer
Wow.
I volunteered for the insect one, and I paddled down the Sacramento River and got to count monarch butterflies. So there's a
Wow.
lot of
Oh, that
different
sounds
things.
so beautiful. The monarch butterflies. Oh my God. Girl, I've been so I was thinking about, okay, you know, on Pokemon, I don't know if you're aware, how he has that little thing and it tells him, he can scan it, he tells him what kind of Pokemon it is. I was like, we need one of those for plants. Meanwhile, I got it all the time in my phone.
Also,
I go on nature walks, long nature walks, and I'm like, I wonder what that is. Wonder.
yeah,
I could have been just
just have any photos in your phone already, you can go back and look at what it is. So,
Yeah, I'm
like,
definitely going to because I have tons of photos. Wow, girl, I needed that because like I said, I go on my nature walks and sometimes there's a certain plant that I gravitate towards and I'm like I really would love to know what that is and what benefits because you never know what a benefit is. And then sometimes I think I know what a plant is, but I there's no confirmation. So, I can't wait.
I was just having a conversation with a family member recently, and she started drinking dandelion tea because they have liver issues. And
Mhm.
so, dandelion teas are all over, you can go
Yeah.
outside and
Yeah, it's crazy. And also, the other thing that I love too is having these conversations because sometimes we forget. Like I use dandelion tea for just because I have with PCOS I have an insulin resistance and so I have a risk of getting fatty liver when I because of sugar intake or because of drinking alcohol. So that's why I bought it. But recently I've been having issues with inflammation and I want to be mindful of my thyroid. And my therapist was like, dandelion tea is good for water retention and stuff like that. And I'm like, I forgot all about that. I got some sitting in my cabinet. So it's just nice to have those conversations because for me, once I know that something is good for one thing, like I know that it's a good, I'm aware that it's good for other things, but I utilize it for what it's good for in that time that I need it. Not realizing that, okay, I might need to revisit what it's good for because it might help me in this season as well as that season. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's exciting. That is exciting. And I love that you said you just go out in nature and you let nature guide you. That's beautiful because I don't know, girl, this is what I do. This is my method because I'm a chat GPT girly. I get on there and I say I have PCOS, I have PTSD, I have anxiety and depression. What herbs are going to benefit me? Because I don't want to do any um chemicals or anything from the store. What herbs, what flowers, what essential oils, what can benefit these things.
Yes.
And then I tell them to sync it to my menstrual cycle, because we have 4 phases, right? So and then I'll tell them to sync it to that, and they give me a chart. And then after that, I utilize, different, there's different local or herbal stores, and I've connected with you a little bit about some of the stuff that I want and things of that nature. But I would prefer, I love that method, and I will definitely keep utilizing it. But to go out in nature and to just observe, I love that. Like I said, is one of my favorite ways to pass time. So knowing that I could actually educate myself while I'm in nature is beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that we get a lot closer to our seasons because you get to see how Mother Earth like really provides for us, like
Mhm.
in the winter we're inside all the time, and most of the things that you go out and forage are going to be greens. When you go out into the summer, you're going to be out and you see more fruits. And so it's so interesting to see that the way that the world works is it's already giving us what we need. So when you're going out,
Exactly.
things, nettle is growing right now. It's allergy season. You're all of these things are here to benefit us. It's medicine.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we really enjoy that about going outside, and you get to be an advocate for Mother Earth because I live next to an oak forest and I grew up going there and I knew what was there. But if you moved into my neighborhood, you would have no idea that an oak forest was down the street. There's
Yeah.
a new
Yeah.
a whole apartment complex. So being aware of, you go back to the Native Americans and you think about storytelling and you think about why being aware of nature and telling our next generations, like, yes, there was old growth here. Yes, there was medicine here. You can have a better appreciation of what was here before us and the history and the land acknowledgement of where we come from. Like you would
Yes.
be mind blown within the last 100 years about what's happened in your own neighborhood. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
have so many people. What's the nearest watershed you live by? What is your favorite native plant or native animal? And I can't tell you how many people have no idea what water source they live
Yeah.
by or what
Yeah.
animals live by them. It's like we
Yeah.
need to be aware of these things.
Yeah. That's
So
beautiful too, because I am surrounded by water, but I call them different things. Okay. I say this is my favorite trail and that's my favorite waterfront. That's their names for me. But no, it's beautiful to be aware. It's beautiful to respect nature. And I never thought about the fact that I'm aware that nature gives us what we need when we need it. But I never even thought about the fact that, like you said, nettle is growing right now. Nettle is what we need in this season. You know what I mean? And so it's beautiful to think about that. I've thought about it a little bit because we want to eat fruits and veggies that are seasonal, right? So that we make sure that we're getting the proper nutrients and stuff like that. But I don't know why I thought about that as far as grocery shopping. I never thought about it as far as plants that grow. So that's beautiful. I love that.
I just
I'm
wanted
amazed. I'm like
said
ready to go researching now.
Uh, you didn't know the names of things. Another thing that I try to bring up when I'm educating people about plant identification is history and land acknowledgement goes with the names of things. So when I was traveling around going to every national park, I'm just going to say it. Why is every trail named after colonists? So it's like
Yeah.
you go back and like, why is this river named after these people? Why are this land named after people? And it's even crazy. Why are these herbs named after people? Like, I will show you. This is passion flower. This is great
Yes.
for anxiety. It was used as an over-the-counter medicine, and it was approved by the FDA. It's good for seizures, Tourette's. But when you look at it, it's named, what a passion fruit is, right?
Hmm. Yes.
So a passion fruit is named after the Passion of Christ. And the reason why it's named after the Passion of Christ is because when you look at this, it's the crown of thorns. And then you have the
Hmm.
three little, the Holy Spirit, the Father,
Yeah.
Son, Holy Spirit. Then you have the seven petals for the seven disciples. But
Yeah.
then where did this name, what was this name before Catholicism came? The Native Americans were there, you know, and so you think of the history behind the herbs. A lot of the names that we call herbs and plants now are very new names. Before
Yes,
them,
there.
they
Yeah,
had
they
this,
changed them.
you know, they have herbal names that they were called before we changed the names of things. So I just
Yes.
think like even the history behind it, there's so much that goes into plant medicine,
Yeah,
and I could talk about it all day. But those things to me are really important
they
because we need to
are.
understand, you know, like really that's where we understand the medicine. You know, Chinese medicine makes Western medicine look like a baby. Chinese medicine
Yeah.
is thousands of years old.
Yeah,
So
it truly does. Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful too because I have noticed that. I have a couple of books that I'm literally looking at right now. I have about 3 books. One of them is more centered around essential oils because I got them when I was essential oil girly when I was
yeah,
selling doTERRA. But I did notice the name difference. And then like on some of my natural products, I noticed that they use a different name. And when you Google it, it's like, oh, that's sunflower. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
okay. So I have noticed the name thing. I think for me, knowledge is very beautiful and it's very important, and I love the depths that you go into. Because I went into this I don't say natural phase. It was a phase at one point, but I went into it because of my health. I went into it
mhm,
because I felt connected to it, but I didn't understand it because it wasn't taught to me in my family. You know what I mean? We ate, boxed foods. We ate, food that wasn't good for you, too much sugar. Little Debbie cakes was my best friend. We permed our hair. We were putting globs of grease in our hair that wasn't even real oils, a lot of shit like that. And I never liked it. But I'm like, this is my culture, right? This is what I'm supposed to do. And so as I grew up, I slowly got out of it, but I was still around it by the people that I was in relationships with. But then when I found out about my polycystic ovarian syndrome, and my doctor was like, you need to go natural for 3 months and see how that affects your body. And her definition of going natural was no artificial anything, okay? Sweeteners, dyes, foods, any of that. And to eliminate, high fructose corn syrup, all of that, and to work out for an hour a day. I noticed the changes. And then as I started learning more about hormone imbalance because of the PCOS, I started learning that our hair products, our skin products, all of that affects your hormones. The spray, the candles, those candles y'all love so much. They affect all of that. It messes with your hormones. And so that's what kickstarted my natural journey. And so I just kind of I research things, and when it works for me after that, I'm like, I don't really care what it do. It works for my skin, it works for my hair. Like coconut oil, I buy the big thing from Costco. I use it for my hair, my skin, my kids' hair, their skin. I cook with it. It's everywhere. But I think it's important to dive deeper. It's important to dive deeper because I feel like it helps you to be more consistent. It helps you to connect with nature more because I definitely feel a lot more connected with nature and with my body, and I feel the alignment now with nature and my body, and I feel more in tune and more grounded because of it. So I love the depth that you go into. It's very inspiring for me to dive deeper and to encourage those encourage others who purchase my products or who are just maybe following me or just watching this video or whatever to dive deeper, so I love that. I'm inspired.
inspire me all the time, and I love like just the testimonials from real people is what's going to create that knowledge, you know, and
Exactly.
that's why I'm doing research because you're literally reading real testimonials. Like I just had someone message me. I was drinking mugwort tea and they DM'd me and they were like, every time my period's late, I drink mugwort tea and within like 24 hours my period starts. And I'm like, these are the tests
Yes.
I need, so I know that I'm not crazy. No, I'm just kidding,
No,
but you know,
I feel it. I feel it. Because you're like, the herbs work, I'm telling you. But the reality is, this is the big reality about doing things naturally. if there's not a consistent alignment, they're already gonna work differently for everybody, but if there's not consistent alignment, it's not gonna work, right? So people can buy my hair care stuff, my hair stimulant. I have a hair stimulant, and then I have a hair stimulant gold that has the calendula flower in it, right?
Yes.
So if you are putting this in your hair, but you're still eating this way, you're still not hydrating your body, you know what I mean? It's not gonna work.
No.
You know, your hair gonna look good. Like it's
Yeah.
you have that glisten in it from the oil, you know, but it's not gonna work to the fullest extent because you're not
Yes.
putting nutrition in the other aspects of your body. You know what I mean? And so sometimes it feels like where I look crazy, but it's like, baby, it's working for me. You see this hair, you see this skin, it's working. You just
I
have
shaved
to,
my hair. Like I was bald like 2 years ago, and I'm a curly haired
wow.
girl. Like, you
Girl, your
know,
hair is thick too.
I I know. And it's I like to say that I'm a nosy esthetician, and when I get a new client, I want to know their whole lifestyle. I want to know their hobbies. I want to know what they're doing. I want to know how much self-care. I want to know if they have children. I want to know if their partner's irritating them, And it's
Yeah,
like I'm not doing this because I'm trying to be all up in your business. I'm like, no, let's really take a step back and look at your health, because mental health
exactly.
is wealth. Everything that you do routine, and I know that you are a routine girly, so it's like you understand with everything you got going on as a mom, being in school full time, running a skincare business, it's like you have to constantly check in with yourself.
Exactly, exactly. And that's very important because like you said, it applies to how their skincare. And
Mhm.
so it lets you know what they need. And maybe you need a little bit of extra this, or maybe you know what I mean? Maybe you need a boost. Let's drop a little oil in there.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. And I think that we're so used to masking or suppressing that we sometimes we don't even realize how it's affecting our skin, our hair, our bodies. Stress really takes a toll on your body. Anxiety takes a toll on your body. I have PTSD, and so I live in a fight or flight state. So inflammation is present consistently, you know what I mean? And even with anxiety, when I have little, you know what I mean, it causes an imbalance. And so you have to be aware of those things to know what is needed. So as an esthetician, it's the same thing. If you want to take care of your client, you have to know those things, you know what I mean? And so I think it's beautiful that you take that time to go in there. It's not just about a check, it's about let's connect so we can see how you can feel better and look better and enhance your inner glow. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I really do. Yeah, it's really interesting. I've been doing PTSD treatment for about 10 months. And I was taking ginger shots in the morning because when it comes to me, I've noticed when I eat healthier, I feel a lot better. And
Yes.
so Jason was like, "Oh, let's start doing the ginger shots." And as soon as I took a ginger shot, I swear my nervous system was like, I was like, "Oh, wow, I feel so calm." And then I had someone DM me again, and they were like, "Oh, did you know that ginger is an antidepressant because it's an anti-inflammatory?" And I had no
Mm.
idea that when you struggle with anxiety or ADHD or
Yes.
PTSD, that inflammation in your body makes it so much worse. So
Yeah.
any anti-inflammatory like hibiscus and things, I was like, oh my god, I feel like this is an antidepressant. Not saying don't take your antidepressants, but I was like,
I'm
this is
saying it. No,
amazing.
I'm just kidding.
Careful, they're gonna come for you. Big pharma.
I know. No,
Uh,
I believe in doing whatever works best for you. I'm glad you said what you said about ginger. Have you had ginger with hibiscus and lime?
I haven't tried that mix, but that sounds
Delicious.
delicious.
Very delicious
Mm.
with some honey, baby.
Ooh.
But I believe in doing whatever works best for you. I was offered antidepressants, but
Mm-hmm.
as you know, as you said before, I am a mom of two. And with antidepressants, it takes a while for them to get it together, your dosage or whatever. And then also when I called, because they wanted me to get a psychiatrist. I have a therapist. So one, I didn't want to. It was already hard for me to open up to one person. You want me to open to another person? Okay, no. Then the person, I was like, is it really necessary for me to get another one? And well, a psychiatrist, not just my therapist. And they were like, well, if you want something prescribed that's going to change the chemistry of your brain, yes. I said, now change the chemistry of my brain, because like I said, I've always been into allowing my body to do what it needs to do to take care of me. Of course, when I give it what it needs, it's going to do that better, but that I didn't like the way that didn't sit right with me. And so I went and I did more research on what I can do naturally, and I worked out a lot, because working out is one of my biggest healers. Working out, resting, affirmations, mindset, all of that. um and so that was what I needed to do for me. But I believe that you can do both, because I do know, sometimes people, they need the antidepressants because they don't have the time or the energy or the space, because sometimes they're not in a safe space to just do natural. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the natural still helps. Okay, baby.
And that's amazing that you notice that it's a privilege, and it's, well, being around, having those things, it is a privilege. And I hope that more people have, access to that. There's a place here in Sacramento called Snack, and they're the Native American Health Center out here. And it was amazing. I had a friend who went in there for hormonal issues, and they gave them um, a herbal mix, and it blew my mind
That's
coming
awesome.
from America Western medicine. They gave you what
Yeah.
now? They gave you tea? Like what? And she brought some over, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It had like red clover in it, and it was a big giant thing of it, and
Wow.
I was just like, to have this option. And I am going through hormonal issues, and I told my doctor, I was like, I will consider birth control, but I want to make sure I go through every natural step I can until we get there. Just
Exactly.
like you said, we don't have to, that doesn't have to be our first thing. If we can,
Exactly.
let's try something else if we have the privilege to. And
Exactly.
so it's working for me, and it's changing the quality of my life, and it's obviously changing the quality of yours and many
Exactly.
others. And so,
Yeah, yeah, because that's the same with me. PCOS is usually treated with that, with birth control.
hmm
I've never believed in birth control. I just did it because I needed to control that process, not make sure that, and I felt obligated to in the past when I was less healed. I felt obligated to do that in my relationships.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And but as I started to love my body and love myself, I was like, I'm not doing it. So you need to know that. Whoever I was with, you need to know that. So we are wrapping things up, okay? And I let them know I don't believe in that, because basically it's taking my body and stopping it from doing something that it naturally does. And on top of that, it makes me bitchy. No, I'm
Yes,
good,
I will recommend. So if you're out there watching this, get your pen out. There's a book called Period Power by Maisie Hill, and it goes through the whole phases and breaks it down and goes into changing your lifestyle with your cycle. So for me, I struggle with extreme fatigue, and so I will plan projects during specific phases, and I'll plan resting days on specific phases. So if me and my fiance are booking a trip, we're going to book it between a specific time. And we grow up, oh, we're not going to book it when we're bleeding. That's not it. No, we're going to really take a deep dive because we're
Yes,
struggling with this even beyond bleeding, before, after. We all have
exactly.
different, even throughout the day. A lot of us have hormonal issues.
Yeah.
Some wake up and have all of the energy, and then within 4 hours, you have nothing. Or some women or some people have more energy at night, and it's like you have to understand and those hormones and not being like, why am I incapable of going to work? Why am I incapable? Why am I stressed? Why this? Why that? But it's like, no, let's take a step back
Yes.
and be like, our body is creating these specific hormones to make sure it can take care of ourselves. And so we
Yes.
can be aware and take care of it, you know?
Yes,
So,
that's beautiful too because I believe in cycle syncing. It's
hmm
something that I have been working towards more heavily. I've been doing it so far. I've been doing it with my food more than my activities, but I want
yeah.
to start doing it with my activities too because I am starting to notice. I'm becoming more aware. I'm becoming more aware of when I have more energy, when I don't. What's been making it a little bit hard for me to be aware is my PTSD because it has been draining me, but also I just found out that I've gained an additional cyst and that's been draining me. So the pain of both living in the fight or flight state and then having that pain on my ovaries it's been draining me. And I was shaming myself. And so I had to stop doing that. I was like, you're so tired. You need to be doing this. And then, you know what I mean? And I'm like, girl, we don't
Yeah.
talk to you like that. You know, I was like,
Yeah.
we don't talk like that. So I had to sit back and reflect because what I've learned as a natural girly, as someone who utilizes nutrition, herbs, working out, all of that to treat my illnesses and my mental health and my hormone imbalance. When something's off, I feel like I've done something wrong.
Mhm.
And sometimes my anxiety will take over and say, well, if you had medicine, you wouldn't be going through this right now. And I'm like, well, if you had medicine, you would probably be developing another issue. Um,
Yeah.
and so I had to do what you said. I had to sit back and reflect. But I had to reflect on everything. I'm like, DaShay, you have PCOS, you have a lot on your plate, and then you have these mental health issues. So let's see where the overlap is, and so you know what you need. What ingredient is going to serve you right now? Because a lot of times there is some overlap, right? There's some overlap with what's working for my PCOS. That ingredient might also work for my PTSD, and that's the ingredient that I need at that moment. You know what I mean? Ashwagandha is a big one for me because it helps with everything. You know,
I
so it's like you said, it's important to take a step back. As women, it's important for us to know that there are phases. It's not just about the bleeding. And I love that you mentioned that book because I did see you post about that book, but I didn't. At that time, I was reading something else, so I didn't have the time to dive. I was like, I don't want to get distracted. I'm one of those people who get distracted. I'll like start a book and then I'm like, ooh, that sounds interesting. I'm gonna start this other one. I always finish my books, but I'll be bouncing around.
yeah.
So I'm
Yeah,
glad
I
you
love
mentioned that book.
Yeah, yeah, what a wonderful conversation, you know, and I love that we were able to get on here and really like dive deeper into it because these types of conversations are my favorite and I get to be in the salon all the time and talk to my clients about it and I really get to see like it's like a lifestyle, you know, and I feel like we grew up in Tyra Banks, what not to wear, like it was bad, you know,
Yeah.
and so it's like we have to um sorry, I'm getting sleepy. I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, it's getting late.
Yeah, I know. I understand. I'm hungry. I'm right there with you. So I understand and I'm so grateful that we were able to connect. I'm loving this conversation as well. I cannot wait to connect with you in your garden next time. That's going to be
Yeah.
so lovely and I can't wait to be educated furthermore. And like I said, I love our connection and I love the elevation. And so I'm looking forward to elevating with you furthermore.
What's next for you? What
for
can I expect from you for the upcoming few months? What do you got going on?
for the upcoming few months, I'm hoping to start doing the spotlight episodes. So for the Carter Love Talk Show, we have these interviews like this, but the spotlight, like I said, I can't wait to get in your garden. We're going to be going into the places of business. So we would probably maybe we'll do an interview in the garden, maybe we do an interview in your salon, and
Yeah.
then that will end up we'll have clips of that, but that'll end up being audio that will go over us walking through your garden, you showing me different things and stuff like that. So it'll be like a whole storytelling, like a little documentary, about different businesses. My passion is to shine a light on all the different businesses. There's just too many people doing wonderful things, and not enough people knowing about it.
Yeah.
So that is my goal for these next few months, is to continue shining light on people through these type of interviews, but also through that, and hopefully getting some more commercial branding photo shoots, because I love also telling people's story through modeling. So I coordinate full photo shoots for different brands, and I'm the model, but I also can hire other models and stuff like that. So it's fun and exciting, and I love, like I said, the elevation. I elevate while they elevate. We all elevating.
Yeah. Where can I
Yeah.
find your skincare? Where can I find your things? Just
So
to
all of my things are on my website. So the
okay.
CarterLoveLLC.com, and my brand, my oils are called Shea Butter. But if you literally search Carter Love, everything's gonna pop up. The website will pop up, the talk show, the small business community, everything should pop up if you Google Carter Love LLC. So that's where we can find that. Where can we find all of your lovely things? And your
Yes.
salon. You need to go.
Yes. So I am located in South Sacramento in the Delta. I live on a 40-horse boarding facility for tons of farm animals. So I actually built the salon here on my farm. And then I have beautybybrionna.com, and the main three things I focus on is my salon, my plant-based skincare, and my naturalist work. So I teach environmental conservation and naturalist classes in Sacramento. So just to spread the word about Mother Earth and teach people more about plant medicine in itself.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Well, do you have any like a positive quote or a favorite quote or a mantra that you want to share? I like to
Um,
end my lives with a my affirmations.
okay, let me think. Let me think. I like to say I create loving energy, and loving energy is all around me.
Yes, that's beautiful. All right, my loves. Thank you guys so much for watching, for tuning in. Those of you who have been rocking with us throughout this night, throughout this journey that we have been on, I really appreciate your support. As always, remember that you are worthy, 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 worthy always. You are worthy of taking the time to take a step back and figure out what is best for you, what's best for your body, what's best for your mind, what's best for your mood. You are worthy of listening to your body and listening to nature and becoming in alignment with nature. You are worthy of self-care and self-love, unconditional self-care and self-love. You're worthy of finding the right herb, the right flower, the right botanical for you and for what you need it for, okay? And so I want to encourage you to find something, a herb, a flower, a oil, a fruit that is going to benefit whatever you're going through right now, and find an affirmation to say. If you cannot figure it out, come talk to me and I'll help you, all right? Until next time, my loves. Bye-bye. Bye.